Broadcasting Sports.
A slow whirler, going to be a tough play. Hunsley, bare hands on the bounce, a throw. He got him. What a play from Grayson Hunsley on the bare hand.
It's time for Post-8 Baseball on KCCR and on YouTube at KCCR Sports. Post-8 Baseball is brought to you by Comtech, True Green Camelon, Edward Jones Financial, Overhead Door, Todd's Electric, Shane's Pharmacy, Jaeger, AGE, First Fidelity, and State Farm Becky Pottseba Agency.
This will be flown out by Charlie Simpson out to left field. Going back, it is gone! Charlie Simpson hits a two-run home run, and it's a 3-2 ball game.
Post-8 Baseball is also brought to you by Capital City Ford, Lincoln, and Toyota, Oahe Federal Credit Union, Missouri River Dentistry, Dakota Sprinkler and Landscaping, Agtegra, Farting Electric, Envirotech, and Kruger Climate Systems.
Here's a line shot out and towards left center field, diving and making the catch out in center is Sun and Shine. And a tip of the cap from the head coach.
Post-8 Baseball is also brought to you by Stalkin Peterson LLP, Wagner Auto, the South Dakota Office of Attorney General, Division of Consumer Protection, Gales Gas, First United Methodist Church, Karsten Erickson Roofing and Construction, Beck Motors, and May Adam.
Gets with a fly ball to left field. That one is going back to the wall. It's out of here. A 3-run homer for Dawson Getz. And it's a 4-0 lead for the Eights.
And by American Family Insurance Brittany Schaffelbein Agency, Lamb Motors, Bank West, CHS River Plains, Faith Lutheran Church, Graham Tire, Kathy's Sun and Shine Properties, Venture Communications, and the American of Fort Pierre. And now, Post-8 Baseball on KCCR.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of Post-8 Baseball on KCCR. We are live at Hyde Stadium once again for what should be a sensational doubleheader as Pierre Post-8 plays host to Rapid City Post 320 for the first time this season. It is the second time, however, this season that these two teams have faced off. They played once before at the Rapid City Veterans Classic back on June the 8th, and exactly a month later, they meet here in the capital city for a rematch and a doubleheader at that. A lot at stake between these two teams today. When you take a look at the South Dakota American Legion baseball standings, RC Post 320 and Pierre are back-to-back. Pierre currently in 10th. Post 320 is in 11th. If that were the case and the season ended today, Post 320 would match up with 6th-seeded Renner, while 10th-seeded Pierre would take on 7th-seeded Harrisburg. So, with that in mind, there is a lot for Post 8 and Rapid City Post 320 to consider. Not just about maintaining their spots, but also moving up in the standings, which they both feel that with a couple wins today, they can take significant strides to doing just that. Post 8 coming off a doubleheader against Aberdeen back on Wednesday. They've had nearly a week-long break. They ended up splitting that doubleheader, dominated Game 1, didn't have the same results in Game number 2. Instead, they got dominated by the Aberdeen Smitties. And with that loss fresh in their minds, Post 8 has to try to refocus and recapture the magic that they had for a pretty considerable stretch of late July, or rather early July and late June. Meanwhile, for Post 320, they're coming off a doubleheader against Spearfish last night, which they split, ended up losing Game 1, dominated Game 2 by a score of 16-6, and had several key performers that we'll talk more about later on in the broadcast that will give Post 8 some fits at times if they're not careful. But Post 8 is bringing out the big guns as far as the hitters and the pitchers today. River Iverson, he's like Bruce Wayne. He's always got a plan in these situations, and he's going to need to put that into good use to hold off RC Post 320 as this one gets underway soon enough. We're going to take a quick 2-minute timeout. When we come back, we'll preview the starting lineups on both sides as we get ready to get things underway from Hyde Stadium. You're listening in to Post 8 Baseball on KCCR. Don't touch that dial, folks. Want technology solutions you can trust from a neighbor you know? Comtech, locally owned and serving Pierre and surrounding areas since 2009, is dedicated to keeping your home, farm, and business connected and secure. We offer a full range of services, from audio and video, security, surveillance, and networking with expert installation and support. Visit our storefront, call us at 605-224-4066, or visit our website, comtechplus.com, to experience the Comtech difference. Comtech, your local technology experts.
Hey, yo, Speedo's Lawn Care.
Hello. Say, my yard's in rough shape. It's got weeds, brown spots, and crabgrass.
Yeah, no problemo. What shade of green you need? We got 31 shades of green over here. Even the latest shade of septic tank grass green. That one just naturally gives off a glow.
Call the professionals at True Green. They know how to get your lawn healthy and keep it healthy. They guarantee it. All technicians are trained and certified.
Call True Green, 224-1916.
When you're looking for quality trash pickup services, look no further than Envirotech. 6 days a week, their trucks are on the road picking up trash, even holidays. They're also the place to contact for recycling services. Their friendly, professional staff is ready to assist with weekly pickups or even special pickups. Check out the website at envirotechwaste.com. Envirotech is locally operated. Call 224-4804. Envirotech Waste Services in Pierre, proud to support high school athletics.
When life throws you a curveball, May Adam Law Firm in Pierre is here to help you knock it out of the park. For over 130 years, we've been providing trusted legal expertise in business, family law, criminal defense, and more. Proud sponsors of this season's baseball action, we're committed to serving our community both on and off the field. Need legal advice? Step up to the plate with May Adam Law Firm. Visit mayadam.net or call today. May Adam, South Dakota's law firm since 1881. And we welcome you back to Post 8 Baseball on KCCR. Dylan Simmons on the call, and we are just about set for game number 1 of today's doubleheader at Hyde Stadium between Rapid City Post 320 and your Pierre Post 8 baseball team. Real quick, we're going to go over the starting lineups for both teams. For Pierre Post 8 today, J.J. Buckholtz will take the mound. Keep an eye on him, folks. He's been sensational this season. Multiple complete game shutouts and arguably the best pitcher on the Pierre staff right now. Cooper Terwilliger will be at first base. Carter Schuffelbein will be the second baseman. Dawson Getz is the shortstop. Grayson Hunsley, the third baseman. Ridge Lineback, the left fielder. Porter Hunsley in center field. Sutton Sonnenschein in right field. Charlie Simpson will be the catcher for Post 8 today. Meanwhile, for Rapid City Post 320, Jonah Blake will lead off as the catcher in the order. Tegan Salis will be the third baseman. Aiden Bird will be the right fielder. Max Speed, the best name in baseball, will be the first baseman. Cotton Melhoff is the second baseman. Jet Peterson, the center fielder. Noah Wall, the shortstop. Max Schonard, the left fielder. And Anders Lockhart will be the designated hitter. On the mound for Rapid City Post 320 today will be Landon Fatz, and he will be coming on in the bottom half of the first inning. Both teams beginning to take the field as Post 8 makes their way out after Rapid City Post 320. And as I mentioned at the top of the broadcast, these two teams have faced off once this season, that coming at the tail end of the Veterans Classic. That game didn't count for the South Dakota standings, but both of today's games certainly will, and they add that much more prestige to what is already an important matchup on both sides. Post 8 won that first game by a score of 10-6 in extra innings. Needed 8 to do it, but once they got to that 8th inning, it was pure domination against Rapid City Post 320, as in a way they kind of lost hold of their pitching late. Pierre was able to capitalize, which they've done at points this season, and now we'll see if the worm will turn for Rapid City Post 320 or if Post 8 will continue their hot streak against the Stars thus far this year. Rapid City Post 320 enters with a record of 24-22 overall. Post 8, 15-10. And now we'll send it field side for opening ceremonies and our national anthem. Beautiful playing of the national anthem here at Hyde Stadium. And as you just mentioned, let's play some baseball between Post 8 and Rapid City Post 320. Post 8 wearing their usual traditional uniforms. They've got green shirts on, white pants, and green caps today. Meanwhile, for Rapid City Post 320, it is red shirts with white sleeves and white pants along with what looks to be white hats today. So pretty nice color combination. Green versus red should make it easy if you're on the YouTube stream. And if you're listening in, then you'll need to imagine what I just spoke into existence. Post 8, of course, before the loss to Aberdeen on Wednesday in the second half of that doubleheader, had been on a pretty hot streak to start the month of July and end the month of June. Had won numerous games and had really taken control of that juncture of the season. Ended up slipping in that second half against Aberdeen, but those things, they will happen as time goes on. And it's all about how you respond, not how you look at that moment as in the entirety of the season, I guess, for lack of a better term. So it'll come down to how Post 8 handles this moment here today. And a lot of that comes back to J.J. Buchholz, the man on the mound, who again has just had an incredible season thus far. He has really taken the helm as far as guys that Post 8 relies on when it comes to the pitching ranks. Already a total of 28.2 innings pitched on the season, which is tops on the Post 8 baseball team. And now the Eights will look at him again to shut down an opposing batter, as Jonah Blake, the catcher, will lead things off, and we'll get ready to get things underway. Buchholz with 18 strikeouts on the season. That is second on this Post 8 team. And he's ready to get things underway. Here we go. His first pitch in the dirt. And the count goes to 1-0 for Buchholz. It's a hot day here in the capital city. We are already at what appears to be 90-plus degrees. I'll have to check that on the weather app later on as Buchholz fires a pitch in wide, counts 2-0. But the sun is beaming down as well, so that will certainly add an element to this game for Pierre Post 8 as far as their energy levels and readiness for this one. There's a strike, count goes to 2-1. The great thing about these players is that they are conditioned for instances like this, and they're used to playing in the heat, so this is nothing new for them. That pitch comes in high, counts 3-1. And again, J.J. Buchholz with the 18 strikeouts on the season, 28 2/3 innings pitched. He's given up 23 hits and just 10 earned runs all season. Pretty impressive margins compared to a lot of pitchers in the state of South Dakota. And that's a strikeout. Got him looking. What a fastball from J.J. Buchholz on Jonah Blake. He gets the K on the full count, and that's one down just like that here in the top half of the first inning. Well, we said that J.J. Buchholz is usually pretty good once he gets in a rhythm at continuing that pace and making life hard on opposing batters. As that ball is fouled, count goes to 0-1. This is Tegan Sales, who is at the plate. Had 2 hits, no RBIs in game number 1 versus Pierre back on the June 8th contest at the Veterans Classic. And here's a bouncing ball to second. Nope. And actually, no, it is caught immediately by Carter Schuffelbein. Thought it hit the ground, but Schuffelbein apparently scooped it up at the last second. That's 2 away. And just like that, Post 8 is picking him up and putting him down here in the top half of the first inning. Tegan Sales retired after the line out to second. Jonah Blake retired after the strikeout looking, and now Aiden Bird heads to the plate. Aiden Bird, the first lefty batter that J.J. Buchholz has faced today, and we'll see if Bird can take flight. That pitch high, count goes to 1-0. That was a very low line out to Schuffelbein. I'm very impressed that he managed to get a glove on that thing and not let it get past him. But he was Johnny on the spot. Count goes to 2-0 as that pitch is wide by Buchholz. Aiden Bird has been one of the most dynamic players this season, and that's a hit by pitch. Looks like it caught him on the right side, and Bird's on to first base. So Buchholz didn't give it to him the easy way. He had to take a shot for his troubles, but Bird is on to first base, and that is one thing that J.J. Buchholz has been looking to avoid in this game and throughout the rest of the season is a situation just like that. So now Max Speed comes to the plate, cleanup man in the order, and yes, that is his real name, Max Speed. It is a perfect name for an athlete, and you'd expect a guy like him to be a track star, but today he's on the diamond with a baseball uniform, and as the name would suggest, once he gets on the base path, he is a very hard guy to deal with. So Post State rather keep him restricted to that batter's box. Here's a ground ball left side, and it goes over the head of Grayson Hunsley, and Max Speed will speed his way over to first base, and it looks like he's going to get there on an E5. So our first error of the game goes to Grayson Hunsley and Post State, as Hunsley just kind of lost sight of the baseball. It bounced up and over him, and he couldn't quite handle it. E5 allows Speed to move on to first, and just like that, Rapid City post 320 with runners on first and second base, as you've got Bird and Speed in position. Cotton Melhoff heads to the plate. Melhoff, not just a batter, but also a pitcher. He's had instances where he has pitched this season. 2 innings pitched in game number 1 against Post State, as a matter of fact. Had 2 earned runs given up and 1 strikeout. That pitch fired in wide. Count goes to 1-0. It was he and Noah Wald who were the pitchers in that game. Wald, the shortstop for Rapid City post 320 in this one. And he fouls this one back. Count goes to 1-1. Melhoff got a piece of it. Wasn't quite able to drive it any further than that. Post 320 has been playing a lot longer than Post 8 has this season. 24-22 record. 46 total games played. They were already playing back in April. And if I'm not mistaken, John Winkler mentioned this to me one time as the count goes to 2-1. Because of the Rapid City rules and regulations, these players are not allowed to play high school baseball. So that's why you can get the early start. And even while high school baseball is still going on, you've got your own baseball. Here is a line shot that's going to get down into left center field. This could be trouble. Rounding his way to home and scoring is Aiden Bird. The throw from center field comes in too late to third base. And just like that, Rapid City post 320 is on top by a score of 1-0, courtesy of an RBI single from Cotton Melhoff. Melhoff got a pretty good charge into that one, and from there, Aiden Bird sprung his way all the way to home plate. Max Speed finding his way all the way to the hot corner, and Rapid City post 320 with 2 outs has a runner on the scoreboard and another runner 90 feet away from scoring. This is Jet Peterson who's at the plate. He'll swing and miss at this one, counts 0-1. Again, some sensational names on this RC post 320 roster. You've got Max Speed and Jet Peterson. Giving me some ideas for my future kids. Not really, but you never know, right? As that pitch comes in wide, counts 1-0. Myself and John, check it 1-1. Myself and John were having some discussions about that this morning, as a matter of fact, and some fun names we've heard over the years. But I got to give it to Max Speed. That's a creative one, and that's a hit by pitch. J.J. Buchholz, for the second time, has hit a batter in the top half of the first inning. That eventually led to Aiden Bird scoring a run, and now he loads the bases with Jet Peterson. So an uncharacteristic, troublesome start for J.J. Buchholz, who's usually money in these situations, and he's got to face down one of the best batters on this post 320 squad, Noah Wald. This pitch is off speed and low, counts 1-0. Noah Wald, no stranger to post 8. As I mentioned before, pitched 6 innings in game number 1 versus them. 5 strikeouts. Gave up 3 earned runs, and he sends this one over to right. Sun and shine there, makes the catch in shallow right field. So post 8 able to lead 3 runners stranded on base for post 320, but a run does score. Aiden Bird takes flight and comes home. RBI single for Cotton Melhoff, and the score is 1-0 after 1 frame. Post 8 will have a chance to respond in 2 minutes' time when we come back here on KCCR Pierre, a Riverfront broadcasting station. This is Post 8 Baseball.
With any dream, the wind won't always be at your back, the sun won't always be shining, and some rain is going to fall. American Family Insurance is like a good solid roof that you can trust to protect your biggest dreams. With plans that could save you up to 23% when you bundle your home and auto. Also, you can continue to dream fearlessly, no matter what comes your way. American Family Insurance.
Visit mfam.com to learn how discounts may apply to you. American Family Mutual Insurance Company assigned its operating company, 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.
Contact the Brittany Shufflebind Agency, LLC, 224-6627.
Looking for your next new or used car, truck, or SUV? Then go no further than the comfort of your own home. Shop online at lambmotor.com. On lambmotor.com, you'll find the vehicles Lambs has in stock. You can schedule a test drive or your vehicle's next tune-up, all online. New or used, shop for it all online, anywhere you are. Lamb Motor has the right vehicle for you. Lamb Motor in Oneida and online, lambmotor.com.
Welcome back. This is Post 8 Baseball on KCCR. Dylan Simmons with you on this Tuesday afternoon. Glad you're joining us wherever you're listening in or watching from. Our scoreboard today is courtesy of the American Family Insurance Brittany Shufflebind Agency. Thank you, Brittany and American Family Insurance, for sponsoring our scoreboard each and every game. Rapid City Post 320 on top by a score of 1-0, and Post 8 will have to deal with the lefty pitcher Landon Fatts as he makes his way to the mound. And he's been one of the better pitchers for Rapid City Post 320 this year. He'll have an opportunity to shut down Pierre, but this is going to be no easy task against this Post 8 batting core, which has been improving tremendously as this season has progressed. And a large part of that has been due to Carter Shufflebind, the man at the plate, who thus far this season has been a real success story. If you needed any proof of that, here are some of the stats he's got. 281 average on the season, 368 on-base percentage, 16 hits, has a double on the year, 9 RBIs, and 14 runs scored. Lets this pitch come by, and the count will be 1-0. And he's almost always been in the leadoff spot for Post 8 this season. He sends this one sky high. It's in the infield, and it's easily caught by the third baseman, Tegan Sales. One down here in the bottom half of the first inning. So Shufflebind quickly retired after that pop-up. Here comes Dawson Getz. Another tremendous performer for Pierre Post 8 this season, and he's a guy who can do it with both the glove and the bat, no doubt about it. Best batting average on the team outside of Charlie Simpson, 393 batting average for Getz this season. Swings and misses at this one, counts 0-1. 470 on base percentage, that is tops on the team. 554 slugging, 22 hits, 3 doubles, and 3 triples. Here's a ground ball left side, right to the third baseman, Sales, and he sails it over to first base for out number 2. So 2 batters, and both of them retired quickly for Post 320. About the best start you could hope for thus far if you're Landon Fatts. Because in this situation, you don't want Post 8 to respond right after you were able to get a run on the scoreboard. So holding them at bay in any capacity is huge. Charlie Simpson now up to the plate. And as I mentioned previously, the best batting average on this Post 8 team at the moment. He's become a massive contributor, especially in this middle part of the year. 407 batting average, facing a 2-0 count now. 22 hits, which is tied for second most on the team. 17 singles, 3 triples, and even a home run thus far this season. This pitch comes in low. That's ball 3, and he may have an opportunity to get on base, much in the same fashion that Post 320 was able to make their own mark with 2 outs. There's a strike, count goes to 3-1. It started with a hit-by pitch that J.J. Buchholz created and then eventually led to Bird scoring that run in the top of the first for RC Post 320. And that's ball 4. So Post 8 will get a free man on base as well, as Charlie Simpson, not in the usual dramatic style, but still finding his way to base on a walk forced. And that'll send on Cooper Terwilliger. And Coop, he's been arguably the most improved player from this season to last season, or from last season to this season, I should say. .393 batting average on the year, .397 on base percentage. As Simpson's taking off, goes to second, and he's going to be able to get there in time as the throw was a little bit wide. They were trying to catch him off guard, and Simpson was having none of it. Just used his speed to take off and get himself in scoring position. So that's a crucial stolen base. The tying run is in scoring position for Post 8, with Cooper Terwilliger at the plate looking to capitalize. And it was interesting how Simpson really wasted no time trying to steal that base. He went for it the minute he saw an opportunity, and it almost paid off big time. Count goes to 1-0. And you see now that Fats is slowing down his pitch style just a little bit. Layden Fats trying to find a way to hold Post 8 at bay, at least for the time being. This is grounded out and fouled. Counts 1-1 for Cooper Terwilliger. Terwilliger also with 22 hits on the season. There are 3 separate players for Post 8 who have 22 hits, funnily enough, which is a pretty wild stat to think about. 3 players have exactly that amount, but they've been able to match each other and surpass each other to some degree as this season continues. And that kind of production, sometimes that helps breed familiarity and more of it if enough players catch on and are motivated by it. Count goes to 1-2. So whenever you see a Dawson Getz or a Sutton Sunshine or whoever performing well, sometimes that rubs off on the other players and it lifts the whole team up. Post 8's a shining example of that. 1-2 count with 2 outs. Terwilliger fouls this one back. And when you think about improved teams from last season, these are arguably 2 of the most improved teams from a year ago. Rapid City Post 320 had a dismal 12-48 season. Starting off this year with a winning record, a lot of that due to their head coach Mike Jansen. In his first season, he has really helped turn the tide for Post 320. Of course, a lot of their wins have come against out-of-state opponents, but fact still stands, they've been able to make improvements as Terwilliger blasts one off towards right field, but not having to make too many moves as Aiden Bird, he gets the ball, and that will do it for the bottom half of the first inning. Your score remains 1-0, Rapid City Post 320 on top. Back in 1 minute right here on KCCR and on YouTube at KCCR Sports with more Post 8 baseball.
No one likes to have electrical problems, but when they happen, call Todd's Electric at 223-2518. With over 28 years of experience, Todd's Electric can handle any type of electrical problem, whether it's residential, commercial, or agricultural. Their knowledgeable staff knows and understands the importance of your home, business, or ag facility and are prepared to help. Call Todd's Electric at 223-2518. That's 223-2518. Todd's Electric, serving the Pierre and Fort Pierre areas. The line to power.
Financial investments are very important, but so are the investments of time, patience, and encouragement our young athletes receive from their coaches, teachers, and mentors. Your Pierre area Edward Jones Financial Advisors understand this. That's why Edward Jones is a proud sponsor of Governor Athletics on KCCR. Go Govs! For all your investment needs, call or stop by one of our offices to visit with your Pierre area Edward Jones Financial Advisor. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to the beautiful capital city of South Dakota. That is Pierre, and we are live at Hyde Stadium for Post 8 baseball. Dylan Simmons on the call here on KCCR and on YouTube at KCCR Sports with your score in game number 1 of today's doubleheader between Post 8 and Rapid City Post 320, currently standing at 1-0. Post 8 trying to pick up their second win of the season, but their first win in South Dakota play against RC Post 320. As we get a new man at the plate, it's Max Schonhard, the left fielder, number 8 in the order. 8-9-1 due up for Rapid City Post 320. Anders Lockhart is the man currently on deck. And Jonah Blake to follow. That pitch comes in from Buckholz, counts 1-0. Buckholz had a little bit of trouble, at least by his standards, kind of getting into a rhythm in that first inning. Had a strikeout early on Jonah Blake, but after that struggled, gave up a run, loaded the bases, got out of there without really tearing up Post 8's chances, but it's still enough of a situation that could scare you that it's just something that could give him pause for thought. Count goes to 3-0. That finds its mark. It's in for a strike. Counts 3-1. Buchholz usually not the type of pitcher to get shaken in these situations, but you still got to account for the situation that you're in. That's going to be fouled, and look out roadway. It actually stays just inside the fence, and the count's going to move to 3-2. So Buchholz able to get back from behind a 3-0 count to make the count full. Payoff pitch will soon be on the way. 3-2. Buchholz with a fastball. It's lifted out to right center field. Who wants it? Looks like it'll be Porter Hunsley, the center fielder, who makes the catch for out one. Good work by Hunsley to locate that baseball. That'll send on Anders Lockhart. Pretty routine fly out, but that's one that was kind of close to the gap. And in that situation, the communication between Sutton Sonnenschein and Porter Hunsley, key, ended up working out just fine. So Anders Lockhart makes his way to the plate. Lockhart, number 13, looking to be unlucky for post 8 in this game. That pitch wide by Buchholz, counts 1-0. Pierre post 8 as a team thus far this season, with a record of 11-10, 15-10 counting consolation wins over Sturgis. Pitching wise, they've given up 151, as this one is going to be fly to left field, and it gets down for a base hit right in front of Ridge Lineback. That's a single for Anders Lockhart. So didn't really even have much of a chance to talk about him, and he's able to get himself on base with a one-out single. So good work by Lockhart. As I was saying, post 8 as a team thus far this season with 101 strikeouts, 89 walks that they've allowed, 90 earned runs total, team ERA of 4.52. So it's right in that middle area. Now Jonah Blake to the plate with one out and a runner on first base. Buchholz's fastball is low and outside. Count goes to 1-0. Post 320 has not won a state championship in their existence, and more often than not, they've kind of lived in the shadow of Post 22. Obviously, the Hard Hats with an incredible history of state championships and winning. And Post 320's had to contend with that. So to be able to spring out and do what they've done this year is very impressive. Again, you got to give a lot of credit to Mike Jansen for what he's been able to accomplish. He was the former head coach of the shooters team for Rapid City, as that is a ground ball in the left field for a base hit. So now 2 runners on base for Rapid City post 320. Jonah Blake able to turn what was a strikeout in his first at-bat to a single here. And just like that, they are set up in position once again. And this concerning start for J.J. Buchholz continues, as Stegan Sales will be the next man up. Still just one out and runners on first and second. So how does Buchholz handle this situation, as this is becoming more and more of a challenge as we get later into the game? Seems like these post 320 batters have certainly found something. Here's another ground ball right up the middle. Chance to turn a double play here. There's one out. Throw to first is in time for 2. A 6-4-3 double play for post 8. Tegan Sales grounded out into it. And just when it looked like post 320 had a chance to extend the lead, they are denied. That sends us to the bottom half of the second inning. Your score is still Rapid City post 321, post 8-0. Back in 1 minute right here on KCCR and on YouTube at KCCR Sports.
Stolken Peterson LLP has been your local CPA firm for over 40 years, offering tax preparation, bookkeeping, payroll, and consulting services. If your business, farm, or ranch needs professional, accurate, and reliable services, we are your firm. Our clients are our #1 priority. If you need a higher level of accounting service, give us a call at 605-224-5828. That's Stolken Peterson LLP, 222 East Missouri Avenue in Pierre.
Swing for the fences with a great deal from Capital City Ford Lincoln Toyota in Pierre. Whether you need a powerful truck, a fuel-efficient sedan, or a spacious SUV, they've got the perfect lineup to keep you on the road and in the game. Don't strike out. Stop by today or visit CapitalCityFordToyota.com. Capital City Ford Lincoln Toyota, where the best deals in town are always in play. Welcome back to Post 8 Baseball on KCCR and on YouTube at KCCR Sports. Dylan Simmons on the call. We've reached the bottom half of the second inning in game number 1 between Pierre Post 8 and Rapid City Post 320. Our scoreboard, as always, courtesy of the American Family Insurance Brittany Shufflebine Agency. Reg Leinbach, the first man at the plate to get things started in the bottom of the second, swings and misses at this one. After he fanned that one out, count goes to 0-1. Left fielder for Post 8 today was in a bit of a slump for some time, has somewhat picked himself up out of that, and this ground ball bobbled by the shortstop could help. He's going to be able to make it to first in time. Noah Wald could not control the baseball. It's probably going to be scored as an E6. We'll see. But either way, Leinbach is at first base, and Post 8 does have a runner aboard, and it is going to be called an E6. So Leinbach able to make his way onto first base. We saw an E5 from Grayson Hunsley in the first inning, and now we've got an E6 from Noah Wald in the second, this time for Rapid City Post 320. The tying run is aboard for Pierre as Sutton Sunshine looks to spring Leinbach home. First inning was very effective for Layden Fatts, and here's a ground ball on the left side, and Post 8 is going to have 2 aboard. That one rolls all the way near the corner, and making his way all the way to second base is Sutton Sunshine. So he'll get awarded with the double, and Post 8 now with 2 runners in scoring position. So what a start to this bottom half of the second for Pierre Post 8. In just 2 batters, they've had Leinbach make it on an E6, and now Sutton Sunshine with our first extra base hit of the game, and Post 8 getting their first hit, period, of the game. That'll send Grayson Hunsley to the plate with a chance to tie or maybe even give Post 8 the lead just like that. So after being in trouble for a large majority of this game, Pierre's got an opportunity just like that to capture their first lead, and sometimes that's the way things go with this Pierre Post 8 team. Just sensational stuff. Here's a ball driven towards center. Diving catch laid out for by Jet Peterson. Tagging and scoring will be Ridge Leinbach, and we're all knotted up at 1 run apiece. So it's an RBI for Grayson Hunsley, but it seemed as though it was going to score both Sunshine and Ridge Leinbach. Instead, it just gets Leinbach, but either way, Post 8 able to get the game tied up. Sunshine remains at second. It's a 1-1 ball game with 1 out. Great catch by Jet Peterson in that situation, just to lay out for that thing in right center field. Trevor Rounds now to the plate in this knotted up contest. 1 run for each side. And the leading run for Post 8 is in scoring position with 1 out. Trevor Rounds, the DH, is the man at the plate. Exactly 200 batting average on the season. He's going to chop this one up towards the shortstop. He'll throw on to first, and it gets there in time. Sunshine advances on to third. It's a 6-3 on Rounds. 2 down in the bottom half of the second inning. So it basically almost became a swinging bunt in that situation to get Sunshine into the hot corner. And now Porter Hunsley will get to the plate. Hunsley, in my opinion, one of the more underrated players for Post 8 this season. May not have the game-breaking numbers that some of his teammates do, but he's been so key in so many situations, both as a batter and a pitcher. And when you combine his productivity on both sides, it makes him a really invaluable addition to this Post 8 team. He's going to send a ground ball to short here. Wald gets it on to first off the ground ball, and that will be a ground out that ends the bottom half of the second inning. But Post 8 does tie the game up. A couple of big shots. Sutton Sunshine with a double, and an RBI sac fly from Grayson Hunsley, all tied up at 1 run apiece. We'll be back for the top of the third in 1 minute's time right here on KCCR and on YouTube at KCCR Sports.
Building a home. It's the biggest investment most of us make in a lifetime. Not to mention it's a decision that, well, you pretty much live with day and night. The quality of the workmanship stares back at you like a reflection. It also affects the value of your investment. Choosing the right contractor is critical. Kruger Contracting is that contractor. Call 222-2523. Quality workmanship and materials completed on time. Kruger Contracting. In a word, quality. Call 222-2523.
Becky Potsaba and State Farm Insurance are here to help you with your insurance and banking needs. State Farm's not just insurance. It's banking, investments, IRAs, loans, and a whole lot more. We offer guidance in a personal and caring way that helps you manage the risks of everyday life, recover from the unexpected, and find ways to control costs so you can realize your dreams. We know how life is, and we're here for you. Stop in to see Becky at 1315 East Wells Avenue in Pierre, or call Becky at 224-4173.
Welcome back to Post 8 Baseball on KCCR, live at Hyde Stadium this afternoon, with the score all knotted up at 1 run apiece between Pierre Post 8 and Rapid City Post 320. RC with about a 2.5-hour drive to get from their part of West River, just at the base of the Black Hills, over here to Pierre this afternoon. Here's a ground ball shot through the right side, and in for a base hit is Aiden Bird. He's got a leadoff single here in the top half of the third inning. Aiden Bird continues what's been a solid game already. Reached on a hit by pitch in the first inning and now gets to first base on a single here in the top half of the third. And here comes Max Speed. He was a big difference maker that really helped spring Post 320 to a run, not directly with any hit or with an RBI, but his E5 made it easier for Aiden Bird to end up getting to home plate. He'll foul this one to the left side. Count goes to 0-1. Speed had a sensational game last night with 4 total hits in the second half of the doubleheader against Spearfish, 4 for 4 overall. So there's no wonder why he's in the starting lineup for this game. When you have that kind of torrid hot streak about you, it's hard for any coach to say, yeah, we're not going to play you in one of these 2 games tomorrow. Speed hasn't always been a starter this season, but with performances like that, he's certainly making a great case to keep a permanent starting role. Counts 1-1. This is a ball in the dirt. Good work by Charlie Simpson just to keep the ball in front of him. Count goes to 2-1. Had to do some extra work to make sure that ball didn't get to the backstop. Would have made it easy for Aiden Bird to get on to second. Buckholz, as this one is lifted foul. It's heading towards our press box, and it lands right on the roof and goes back into the crowd. So somebody's going to have a chance to go redeem that for a special souvenir up in the press box. Count goes to 2-2. Few fans have made the journey out. We expect more to come in as the afternoon continues on. As that pitch is wide by Buckholz for ball 3. 3 o'clock start time, a little bit early considering where Post 8 usually starts baseball games, around the 4 or 5 time slot, but getting a bit of an early start today means that this doubleheader should come to a close earlier, as that is a strikeout for J.J. Buckholz. His second of the game comes against Max Speed, so Max Speed has to hit the brakes with J.J. Buckholz doing his thing. 1 down here in the top half of the third inning. That was a much-needed punch-out for Buckholz, who had been struggling just a little bit, able to get Speed looking this time. Cotton Melhoff comes to the plate. He did get a single his last time up, swings and misses here. And the count is at 0-1. He had the RBI single against that ended up springing Aiden Bird to home plate in that first inning and scored the lone run for Rapid City Post 320 thus far. 0-1 pitch for Buckholz, and he places this one low. Count is 1-1. Rapid City Post 320 so far 3-3 in the month of July. After the 3 wins they've managed over Spearfish in 4 games, this ball is going to skip away from Charlie Simpson, and now moving on to second. And oh boy, that ball almost got into center field after the throw from Simpson at the catcher spot. Good work by Post 8. Looks like Shovelbein was able to get a glove on it, make sure it didn't get any further along, but either way, it does spring Aiden Bird all the way to second base. So that wild pitch almost backfired in a huge way. Counts 2-1. Still just 1 out. Buchholz, off-speed pitch, nicely done on the breaking ball. Count goes to 2-2. That's the kind of confidence that River Iverson and Post State want to see from J.J. Buchholz in this game. Of course, multiple complete game shutouts this year. Had a great performance against the last opponent Post State played at home last week. Buchholz fires in a fastball here. Pitch is high. Count goes to 3-2. That, of course, coming against Sioux Falls West in game number 1, helped limit them to just 3 earned runs in his performance and did a good job of holding them at bay. Eventually led to a 10-7 win. Payoff pitch on the way. Buchholz already has a strikeout on this count once in this inning. Here's a liner that goes off the glove of Hunsley. He'll have to hesitate, throws on to first, and does get the out eventually on Melhoff, although it was a little bit more difficult than I'm sure he would have preferred. Almost had a shot at a double play, and it looked like he hesitated for just a second, but I guess he thought that there probably wasn't any chance to take care of Bird in that spot, so might as well get the easy out at first base. There's no force out in that situation, so you can understand that. Leading run, though, is 90 feet away from base with Bird now. Jet Peterson to the plate, and Buchholz fires in a strike. Count goes to 0-1. Buchholz, of course, got Post State out of a bases-loaded jam in the bottom of the first, rather top of the first, earlier on in this game. Ended up stranding 3 runners on base in that inning. And you just expect him, as he gets comfortable, to settle in and understand the game situation. He's not going to let the pressure of the moment do much damage to him, at least if history serves correct. And that pitch is going to get by Simpson, and Bird comes home to give Rapid City Post 320 a 2-1 lead. So just as I say that Simpson, or rather Buchholz, wasn't going to let the pressure of the moment get to him, he gives up a run here to Bird on the wild pitch, and we saw that cause problems earlier on in this inning, and it does the same here. So no runners on base anymore, but the count is at 1-0 with 2 outs. This pitch also is going to go wide. Counts either 2 or 3-0 now. And Jet Peterson, who's already reached on a hit by pitch, is in position to reach once again. Buchholz puts in a fastball. First strike against Peterson in this inning. Looks like it is going to be a full count, actually. So 3-2 is the official call by the home plate umpire. And now a payoff pitch. Buchholz. Not this time. Throws ball 4, and that'll send Jet Peterson on to first. So Peterson has now reached on a hit by pitch and a walk in this game. Noah Wald, the next man up, the shortstop, flew out to right his first time up. Wald, of course, a dangerous threat, both batting and pitching. Runner takes off. Here's the throw, and it's going to go all the way into center field. Inaccurate throw by Charlie Simpson, and this is going to nearly send the runner home, as finally stopping at third base is Jet Peterson. He turned on the Jets that time and really almost made Post State pay for it. He's 90 feet away from adding to this Rapid City lead. Count goes to 1-0, and a really unfortunate situation for Simpson and Post State that time. Kind of airmailed the throw a little bit. No way for Getz or Shufflebind to catch up to it. And that puts that much more pressure on Buchholz to not allow another hit, and thus likely springing Jet Peterson home. Wald trying to get his first hit of the game, and that one's going to get by Simpson. Another wild pitch. Another run comes in. Jet Peterson comes home, and it's a 3-1 baseball game with the Stars on top of Post State, now by 2. Second wild pitch that has scored a runner in this top half of the third inning. We already saw Aiden Bird score in that spot, and now Jet Peterson replicates that success. Bird now with 2 runs, Peterson with just the 1. And this is where Buchholz is really going to have to find a way to settle in and avoid that wild pitch, which has just been a huge Achilles heel. Count at the moment looks like it's 3-1. Buchholz trying to go back to the fastball. Goes low here. That's ball 4. So that's the second straight walk issued by Buchholz. He gave one to Peterson, and now he gives one to Wald. Another base runner. And catcher Charlie Simpson is going to have a quick conversation with his pitcher. Obviously, River Iverson would like to keep Buchholz in if at all possible. You're leaning on this guy to maybe give you a complete game under the right circumstances, and he's proven that he's capable of doing that. Went 6 2/3 against Sioux Falls West last week. But for whatever reason, today has not been the same level of success for him. And it's allowing Rapid City to take the early lead here on the road. So that'll send on Schoenhard, and Max Schoenhard pops this one foul. Count goes to 0-1. You saw Simpson on the bottom of your screen on YouTube trying to catch up to it. And again, the heat isn't doing any favors for anybody on that baseball field. It is such a hot day that it's hard to really concentrate and do what you'd usually do. The dehydration is a real thing if you're not careful. This ball popped up on the left side. It's going to land in foul ground. Hunsley was trying to chase it down. That'll be strike 2. 0-2 count for Schoenhard. He flew out to center his first time up. Anders Lockhart is waiting in the wings, who's already got a single on Buchholz. Schoenhard, another one of these younger pieces that has developed quite a bit as the season has moved forward. Post 320, much like Pierre, has a lot of younger guys. That's ball 1. Count goes to 1-2. And that means that as time goes on, both of these teams should be expected to get better as we move into the next few years. And if that's the case, this could be a very fun rivalry of sorts for the next little bit. Here's a throw on to second base, and they are able to get the runner this time. Simpson had missed on a couple throws to that exact same spot, but this time he takes care of Noah Wald. So a throw him out from Charlie Simpson. It sends us to the bottom of the third. But 2-run score for post 320, both on wild pitches by J.J. Buchholz. Just trying to find a rhythm here in this one. Back for the bottom half of the third in just 1 minute's time. You're listening to KCCR and YouTube with KCCR Sports.
Is it the competition that keeps bringing you back? The long-standing rivalries? Or is it seeing friends again and cheering on your favorite team? At First Dakota, we're here for it all. We appreciate the fans, the players, the coaches and officials, the concessions crew. The shared community experience is part of what makes life here great, and we're here for it. See you at the game. First Dakota National Bank, member FDIC.
For over 60 years, Ferding Electric has been powering homes and businesses across central South Dakota. When you need reliable electrical service, trust the experts with decades of experience. Whether it's a simple residential repair, a complex commercial installation, or even electrical work on your farm, Ferding Electric has you covered. And if you're tired of searching everywhere for that hard-to-find bulb, Ferding Electric carries a wide selection of bulbs, including those hard-to-find fluorescent and specialty options. Visit us at 2903 East Elizabeth Street or call today, 605-224-8684.
Welcome back to Post 8 Baseball on KCCR. Dylan Simmons on the call. And today's doubleheader is hyped as AEW All in Texas coming up on Saturday. It's a good one between Post 8 and Rapid City Post 320. Post 8 down 3-1 in game number 1. As Ridge Leimbach will, or check it, Carter Shufflebein should be the one to lead this off. He lets this pitch go by. Count goes to 1-0. At his Shufflebein, thought I saw a 13 instead of a 12, and I was wondering what the heck was going on. Same guy on the mound. It's Layden Fatts, who's been very, very, very solid in this game, but Shufflebein may have something to say about that. Pulls this pitch wide, counts 1-1. Got a pretty good handle on that fastball, but was unable to send it any further into fair territory. Count goes to 2-1. This is going to be a fair ball, though, and it gets into center field on the ground for a base hit. So Carter Shufflebein will lead off with a single here in this bottom half of the third inning. Post 8 in need of a response after giving up 2 runs in the top half of the third. An uncharacteristically mortal performance from J.J. Buchholz thus far, but Pierre post 8 is not backing down, and these bats are a huge part of their ability to come back and win games just like these. Dawson Getz trying to show just what that potential is. And he lifts one into right center field. This is going to be tough for Peterson. No, actually, it's Bird who comes in underneath the ball and makes the catch for out number 1. So I thought Peterson was going to have the best angle at it, but it kind of drifted to right. Allowed Aiden Bird to get underneath the baseball, and that's out 1. Charlie Simpson will be the next man up. He reached on a walk in his first plate appearance of the game. Best batting average on the team, maybe the most consistent batter all season. You can usually rely on him for at least a 1 or even 2 hit performance, even against some of the better competition in the state of South Dakota. Count goes to 1-0. And you can tell taking his time now is Layden Fatz, who's just trying to figure out what he wants to do in this spot. Counts 2-0. A lot of times pitchers, especially in the high school ranks, seem to switch up their pitch tempo. You see that on all levels, but it's interesting to watch the mental game to some degree in the high school level from that sense, as the count goes to 3-0. This could be the second straight walk forced by Charlie Simpson, who's been a tough out thus far for Fats. 3-0 pitch, and that is ball 4. 4-pitch walk forced by Charlie Simpson. That went about as well as he could have hoped for, and post 8 now has runners on first and second after the Shovelbein single and the Simpson walk. So Cooper Terwilliger makes his way to the plate with 1 away. Flew out to right his first time up through the order. And we got a tying the shoes situation for Layden Fatz. Got to get the shoe tied. Got to get the shoe tied. That was one thing I always struggled with in kindergarten. You can ask my parents if you ever see them. I needed extra special help to make sure I got all the fundamentals down. For whatever reason, it was an impossible task for me, but rest assured, I figured it out in due time. Count goes to 0-1. To me, that was the biggest mystery of kindergarten, was how to tie the shoes correctly. Counts 0-1 here for Cooper Terwilliger. No mystery what he's been able to do this season. And Layden Fatz obviously wants to keep him at bay as much as he can. Strike here, counts 0-2. Terwilliger swung for the fences that time and caught nothing but oxygen. This is where, if you're Terwilliger, you got to dig deep to a huge degree as both base runners quickly retreat to their bags. Runners on first and second for Pierre. Shovelbein at second. Simpson is at first. And lefty Fatz holding his place at the mound, but for how much longer? Here is a drive into right that's going to be fouled. Goes to the right of the pole, and the count will stay at 0-2. Terwilliger got a pretty good charge into it. Just couldn't seem to pull it into fair territory. Ended up resulting in that. Post 320's had a very up and down year this year. Got off to an incredibly hot start as this ball is lifted into right field. Camping underneath it and making the catch is Aiden Bird. Base runners tagging, and moving his way over to third is Carter Shovelbein as the umpire. The second base umpire looks like got hit by the baseball. Appears that he's relatively okay, but, well, maybe not. He got up for a second, but he's certainly wincing and was on his knees and is still on a knee, having a discussion with the home plate umpire. Didn't see exactly where that caught him. Could have been somewhere in the ribs, but of course we won't speculate exactly where it would be. But looks like it may just be just a quick pinch, and hopefully he'll be able to get back up and shake it off. And it appears that he is going to be able to. That's good to see. Just an unfortunate situation there. Bird was making the relay from right field, and it ended up just catching the umpire, which sometimes happens in those situations. So now runners on first and third for post 8 with 2 outs. Ridge Lineback makes his way to the plate after Terwilliger flew out to right for the second time. Lineback reached on an E6 his first time up to the plate. Post 8 has the tying run currently at first base, and their second run of the game currently represented at third with Shufflebein. Here's a ground ball bouncing into center field for a base hit. This will score Shufflebein. Advancing over to second will be Charlie Simpson, and Ridge Lineback has the RBI single for post 8. And they are now just 1 run away from tying this one up after that 2-out RBI single by Lineback. Sutton Sonnenschein, number 6 man in the order, is the next man up. And now the job becomes that much more difficult for Mr. Fats, the man on the mound, trying to find a way to limit this post 8 onslaught. Sonnenschein lets this pitch go by. Count goes to 1-0. Layden Fats had a good start to the game. Really shut down post 8 in the first inning. Gave up a run in the second on an RBI sac fly from Ridge Lineback. Or check it from Grayson Hunsley. That pitch comes in a little bit high. Count goes to 2-0. Again, Pierre post 8 has been able to do some damage with 2 outs in this game already. And they may be on the verge of doing that once again. Seems to be what awakens something in this Pierre baseball team. This ball is going to hang up for a while. Jet Peterson in center field makes the catch, and that will be out number 3. So post 8 takes a bite into the Rapid City post 320 lead, but just scores 1 run. Ridge Lineback with the RBI single. For Lineback, that will be RBI number 10 of the season, it appears. And that'll send us to the top of the 4th. Your score, post 323, Pierre 2. Back in 1 minute right here on KCCR and on YouTube at KCCR Sports.
Venture Communications has deep roots in rural South Dakota. Venture now proudly provides fiber to the home with 100% of our customers, enabling them to enjoy super fast and reliable internet connections. We'd like the opportunity to keep you in touch with the people and resources that matter most. 100% fiber and 100% committed to rural South Dakota. Call Venture Communications today at 605-852-2224, 605-852-2224, or online at venturecom.net.
At Shane's Pharmacy, your healthcare is important, and Shane wants to be the pharmacist to take care of you. Shane's Pharmacy will make sure your prescriptions are filled in a timely manner, they will answer your questions, and they will even deliver to your home or office. Call 223-9200. Shane's Pharmacy, the pharmacy you know and trust. The number again is 223-9200. Shane's Pharmacy in Fort Pierre, proud to support high school athletics.
Welcome back. This is Post 8 Baseball on KCCR and on YouTube at KCCR Sports. Dylan Simmons with you on this Tuesday afternoon. Glad you're tuning in. Whether you're listening on YouTube or on the radio, we are glad to have you here at Hyde Stadium. In my opinion, one of the crown jewel ballparks of the state of South Dakota. We got some good high school baseball, rather Legion baseball action. High school is not until the spring. So apologize for skipping seasons, but anyway, back to our summer baseball today. It's Rapid City Post 320 trying to extend their lead, and they're going to get some help right here with a leadoff single to get things rolling in the top of the 4th inning. That coming courtesy of Max Schohard. Able to get the single to get things rolling for Post 320. Put that one in the perfect spot. Little bloop shot just over the head of Dawson Getz. Nothing he could do about it. Schohard able to get things started, and now Anders Lockhart comes to the plate, the DH. Runner on first just like that for Rapid City Post 320. J.J. Buchholz has been somewhat struggling with a very talented Post 320 roster today. These batters, of course, very familiar to Pierre. was an 8-inning contest the last time these two teams faced off in Rapid City in the Veterans Classic back on June 8th. And 1 month later to the day, a very similar situation breaking out here. Buchholz, as a bunt's laid down, Hunsley will throw on to third and get the out at first, but it will advance Max Schohard on to second. Anders Lockhart ends up with the ground out.
Catcher, number 21, Jonah Blake.
As Jonah Blake comes to the plate. One down here in the top half of the fourth inning. And now we'll see what Jonah Blake can do. He's had mixed fortunes in this game. Struck out looking his first time up. Got a single in his second plate appearance. And now gets ready to square off once again with Buchholz, as his post 320 team is in need of a run to put a gap on Pierre, who's been able to answer the call more often than not in this game. Already 2 runs scored, with 1 each coming in the second and third. So they've been able to keep pace relatively with a pretty solid post 320 offense thus far in this game. So any run you can get in this situation is going to be of tremendous help. Jonah Blake will be followed by Tegan Sales in this one. J.J. Buchholz has 2 strikeouts in this game. Last one came against Max Speed. And again, the other one came against Blake earlier in this game as the count goes to 1-2. That was the very first batter that Post 8 faced in the top half of the first inning, as a matter of fact. And Buchholz hoping there's more where that came from. Here's a ball hit into right center, and that's going to get down in the gap for a base hit. This one rolls and bounces off the wall. Coming around and scoring for Rapid City Post 320 will be Max Schohard, as Jonah Blake gets an RBI triple to put Post 320 on top 4-2 in the top half of the fourth inning. What a dynamic play by Jonah Blake, and what a crushing blow to Post 320 in that spot. So with 1 out in this situation, Post 8 now finds themselves down 2 runs, and Jonah Blake, a man we've talked about quite a bit today, able to answer with the RBI triple. And as I said, that one perfectly placed in the gap, roll all the way to the wall. Blake was able to answer. And now Tegan Sales to the plate with Blake currently at third. Post 8 trying to find some answers and not let this lead get any more swelled than what it is. Counts 1-1. Again, Tegan Sales at the plate. Bird is currently on deck. This ball lifted on the right side of the field, and making the catch easily is the second baseman Shufflebind. That's a needed out for Post 8 in that spot. You just do not want to help out Tegan Sales and Post 320 anymore than what you've already done. So Aiden Bird will head to the plate. That was a nice adjustment by Shufflebind in shallow right just to locate that baseball. Bird did get a single in his second at-bat. He's reached twice already and scored 2 runs. Swings and misses here, counts 0-1. Bird certainly one of the most dangerous players on the base path in this game, living up to that reputation thus far against Buchholz and company. Fouls this one into the netting, and the count's 0-2. It would be great for Buchholz and Post 8 if they could manage a strikeout here and really just keep this at a 2-run game, and makes you feel a lot more comfortable heading to the bottom of the fourth. Buchholz, fastball, there's the strikeout, got him. His third K of the game, got Bird swinging this time, so a runner stranded on base for Post 320, but another run scoring. Stars on top by a score of 4-2. Jonah Blake now 2 for 3 today, including an RBI triple to score Max Schohard. Post 320 trying to win on the road against Pierre. We'll be back in 1 minute right here on KCCR and on YouTube at KCCR Sports.
YAG Air Incorporated is your locally owned ag, chemical, and seed retailer. YAG Air Incorporated offers reliable ground and aerial application. For the latest seed and chemical pricing, contact Kyle at 605-280-8255 8710 or Tony at 605-280-4771. Jaeger for all your ag chemical and seed needs. Kyle, 605-280-8710 or Tony, 605-280-4771.
You just got a quote from a company and are now being billed for not choosing them. Many contracts have what's referred to as a contingency agreement. These typically state that if you don't go with them, you, after insurance has approved the repair work, will be charged a percentage of the job they quoted. Ask up front if they charge to provide an estimate. Never sign anything that you haven't fully read or understand. If you have any questions, reach out to the South Dakota Office of Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division at 800-300-1986.
Welcome back. This is Post-Day Baseball on KCCR. Dylan Simmons on the call. John Winkler running the board for us today. Appreciate John staying overtime after the morning show and all the fun stuff we do back at the studio over at, as Chip Walters would call it, Radio Ranch. Grayson Hunsley making his way to the plate. By the way, for those who don't know, Chip Walters, voice of the MTSU Blue Raiders, my home university, college I went to, and very cool guy. You should look him up sometime. He's got some great calls if you're ever interested. Right now, post 8, they're trying to find their way to their own excitement today. This ball popped up on the right side by Grayson Hunsley, and it's going to be caught easily by Aiden Bird. So Hunsley popped that one up to right, an easy first out in the bottom of the fourth. They've been able to get some leverage against Layden Fats, but they have not been able to get it as consistently as Rapid City has in this game overall. So Trevor Rounds is at the plate. Rounds, the number 8 man in the order, grounded out to short his first time up. This is just the second time still through the order for Pierre in this game. Counts 0-1. They've been, much like Adam Copeland, very opportunistic in this game with the runs they have been able to score. Haven't always been able to get them, but when they've had the opportunity, they've taken advantage. This ball bounces off the second baseman, Cotton Melhoff, and on to first is Rounds. So that's borderline between being an error or a hit. We'll get the official scoring on that in just a second. It bounced off the glove of Melhoff. It was going to be a tough play to make. Kind of took an odd hop off the lip of the infield, and they will call it an E4. So Rounds advances on an error and post 8 with a runner aboard and one out in the bottom of the fourth. That is error number 2 for Rapid City post 320 in this game. Porter Hunsley makes his way to the plate. Hunsley, the center fielder, grounded out to short as well his first time up against Layden Fats. This is a softly hit ball right side of the infield, and the first baseman, Max Speed, able to quickly get to it. So it's, for all intents and purposes, a swinging bunt in that situation for out number 2. It advances Rounds into scoring position and sends us to the top of the order after the unassisted out by Speed. Shovelbein to the plate. He did have a single his last time up. By the way, this is KCCR Pierre, a Riverfront Broadcasting Station. You're listening to Post Day Baseball on KCCR. Reach the top of the hour, 4 o'clock in the capital city. This pitch comes in high. Count goes to 1-0. Shovelbein and Pierre trying to make this a one-run game or possibly tie it up with one big swing of the bat right here. Getz is waiting on deck if Shovelbein fails, but if Shovelbein does strike out or get out of any variety in this case, that would send us to the 5th inning. So a lot riding on this. If post 320 takes a 3 or 4 run lead heading into that bottom of the 5th, you feel a lot worse about your chances. So this is a crucial juncture. Count goes to 2-0, and Carter Shovelbein understands that as well as anybody. Fats taking his time. He had sped up the pitch tempo just a bit, but he slowed it down for Shovelbein, and that seemed to work. Count goes to 2-1. Able to get a little bit more sense of where the ball needed to go on that breaking ball. Took a look back at second. Just trying to keep Trevor Rounds honest, who is eager to get to third and then home at any possible opportunity. Shufflebein with a ground ball left side, and that gets through into left field. Here comes Rounds. He's racing for home. The throw is not going to be in time. Rounds is safe. Post 8 scores a run, and it's a one-run baseball game on an RBI single from Carter Shufflebein. That is exactly what the doctor ordered, and Shufflebein is the medicine. He's now got a 2-for-3 stat line and an RBI single to go along with it. He advanced to second after the throw, and Post 8 is now in a one-run contest as Jonah Blake will have a conversation with Layden Fatts in this situation with the tying run aboard in scoring position, and Dawson gets at the plate. This one continues to be evenly matched, and just as soon as it seems like Rapid City is going to start gapping Pierre, Post 8 is able to respond in kind. Umpires had a brief conversation for just a second. I think just trying to clarify exactly what just took place and make sure there was no discretion on that call. And it looks like there was no issue, so the run is upheld, and Post 8 now in a one-run baseball game with 2 outs. Dawson gets to the plate. He's got a chance to send Shufflebein to home, which would tie this game at 4 runs apiece. Gets his 0 for 2 thus far. Grounded out to third and flew out to right. 4 total hits for Pierre in this game. There's a strike. Count is going to be 0-1. Remember, Shufflebein will absolutely take off if he feels there's an opportunity to steal third base, but that is something we haven't seen from either side really thus far in this game. Swing and a miss. Counts 0-2. Getz was going for the fences and could not quite manage it. And another thing that you want to avoid if you're Rapid City is that if Post 8 can get 2 runners on base and possibly advance Sunshine, or rather Shufflebein on to third, you've got the opportunity at a double steal. As they had to stop the game for a second because apparently something had been thrown over the center field fence. I don't know exactly what that was. Almost looked like a towel or something. We'll see if we can get clarification on that. It was a Frisbee is what we're hearing. So somebody's playing Frisbee just outside of center field. That pitch is in the dirt, counts 1-2, and that would have given Shufflebein a prime opportunity had it gotten past Jonah Blake. Boys and Girls Club of the Capital area is just nearby, so some of the kids obviously over there having a good time and I guess playing just outside the parking lot. One-two pitch, and that's in the dirt again, ball 2. Saw a similar thing with J.J. Buchholz earlier in this game. He was able to overcome that, but this is not a spot that Layden Fatts wants to find himself in. Rapid City Post 320 scored 2 runs off of wild pitches from J.J. Buchholz, as a matter of fact. Both of those coming in the top of the third. And now is Post 8 on the verge of doing something similar here. 2 balls, 2 strikes for Dawson Getz. Instead, he'll swing and miss at this Layden Fatts pitch. It is a strikeout, his first of the game, believe it or not. He gets swinging, and that will bring an end to the 4th inning. Post 8 does put a run on the scoreboard. Carter Shufflebein with a sensational RBI single. Post 8's made it a 1-run contest once again, but do they have enough to get over the top and take the lead? We'll find out as soon as we can. Back in 1 minute right here on KCCR and on YouTube at KCCR Sports.
Summer is here, and Beck Motor Company is stepping up to the plate. As a proud supporter of Legion Baseball, we're hitting it out of the park with unbeatable deals on the Chevy and Cadillac vehicles. Whether you're looking for the power of a Chevy Silverado or the luxury of a Cadillac Escalade, Beck Motor Company has the perfect ride for you. So swing by today. Take your game and your drive to the next level. Beck Motor Company, your local Chevy and Cadillac dealer. Proud to support our youth and ready to put you behind the wheel of your dream vehicle. www.beck-motors.com. 605-224-5912.
Walking together in faith, living together in faith, working together in faith, that's who we are.
Hi, this is Pastor Sam Hanschke. I hope that our athletes have an excellent and successful season. I pray that God would continue to richly bless them. I invite you to join me in praying for our athletes during the year.
We're Faith Lutheran and we are glad you're here.
Welcome back. This is Post 8 Baseball on KCCR and on YouTube at KCCR Sports. Apologies for that for just a second. I think that we had the microphone messed up. I think we got that all set and ready to go now. The way I've got it aligned today, it makes it a little awkward sometimes when you're trying to reach over and hit the buttons, but I think we got it all sorted out. Glad you're joining us here on KCCR and on YouTube at KCCR Sports. Score is 4-3 with Sioux Falls, Rapid City post 320 on top of Pierre post 8. I'm all discombobulated to start the top of the fifth. And Rapid City and Pierre may be the same way. This has been a very highly competitive game thus far, but just seems like neither team can quite manage to claim the big advantage in this game. There are 2 and 1 run leads, but never the lead that puts the game out of reach, so to speak. And that's what both teams are searching for right here. J.J. Buchholz staying on the mound and firing in a breaking ball for a strike, counts 0-1. Max Speed is at the plate, best name in baseball, 4, 5, 6, 2 up in the order. Speed, Cotton Melhoff, and Jet Peterson. Here is a ball popped up into center. Hunsley wants it. Porter Hunsley's got it, out 1. Pretty easy pop-up for Porter Hunsley to handle, and Max Speed not quite going to reach the checkered flag that time. Scott Melhoff will make his way to the plate. 1 down here in this top half of the 5th inning. Post 320 trying to win their 25th game of the season. Having to deal with J.J. Buchholz, who's been getting into a rhythm in this middle part of the game, which we've talked about so much. Once he finds his stuff, it's really hard to deal with him. Post 320 trying to continue their redemption tour. They're going to say that was a strike, actually. Counts 0-1. Here's a ground ball fouled. Count moves to 0-2. Post 320 with a 1-17 record to start the year a year ago. Had a great start this season, had a 13-game winning streak, but they've also had a long losing skid as well. So it's been up and down for Post 320 this year. Certainly a team of runs to where you don't know exactly how good they are. Are they good, bad, mediocre, or somewhere in the middle? No one really knows for sure. The month of July will certainly help to give us an idea on that. Count goes to 2-2. Both teams in position right now to make the Region Legion tournament and then have an opportunity at least to advance to state. Today's doubleheader will be a great way to decide that, and that's going to be ball 4. So that'll send Cotton Melhoff on to first base. 1-out walk here in the top half of the 5th inning. Melhoff is on for the second time. He's reached on a walk and now a single. Jet Peterson will be the next man up. He's reached twice as well, but neither time with a hit. It's been a hit by pitch and a walk. He's got a runner on first and Melhoff. By the way, Melhoff did get an RBI single earlier on in this game. Not going to get an RBI here, but he's got a chance to score a run, which best we can tell he hasn't done yet. 6 total hits for Rapid City post 320 in this first game. Pitch is high from Buchholz. Count goes to 1-0. And J.J. Buchholz trying to settle in, find his form, find his footing, keep his team in position to come away with a victory. But post 320 isn't making it easy on him. Counts 2-0. He's been money in late portions of the game this season, but in a lot of those spots, he wasn't taking on a team quite like post 320. Time was called briefly by Jet Peterson, I believe. Count staying at 2-0. Buchholz, this one lifted on the right side, trying to chase after it as sun and shine. He's not going to be able to catch up to it. It's going to be a foul ball. Counts 2-1. Post 320, as a team, the first time they met Pierre, had 8 hits, 3 RBIs, 6 total runs scored, allowed 5 earned runs, had 6 strikeouts, 9 hits on the defensive side. They've definitely defensively and from a pitching standpoint played better in this game. Here's a fly ball lifted deep to left. Leinbach back at the track, makes the catch. That is out number 2, but that ball was sailing and sailing and sailing and probably gave Ridge a pause for thought, but luckily for him, it didn't get any further than that. 2 away, Noah Wald will be the next man up, and having to stay at first base is Cotton Melhoff. Buchholz has issued a bevy of walks today, as we previously discussed. In total, from what I've been able to figure, he's allowed 3 total. So something he definitely wanted to avoid. That ball is going to crash just to the left of our press box. Counts 0-1 on the foul ball from Noah Wald. Wald did reach on one of those walks issued by Buchholz. Had back-to-back walks in the middle part of the game. Wald and Jet Peterson, the recipients of those. Count is 1-1 as the wind picks up very briefly for just a second. Pretty good gust. The wind not supposed to be much of a factor today. At most 5 to 7 miles per hour was the projected wind speed. This ball hanging up in left center field. Hunsley's there, makes the catch, and that is out number 3. So post 320 comes up empty for the first time since the second, and the score remains 4-3. Post 8 will have a chance to tie the game or maybe even take the lead when we come back in 1 minute's time right here on KCCR and on YouTube at KCCR Sports.
Has it been years since you've been to the dentist? Are you afraid to see a dentist? If so, you are among many people who feel this way. Hi, I am Dr. Michelle Hofer of Missouri River Dentistry. At our office, we pride ourselves as an office that uses a personal touch to offer gentle dentistry, tailored to fit each patient's needs. We do so by utilizing state-of-the-art equipment and methods which allow the patients to feel comfortable. So whether it has been many years or 6 months since your last dental visit, your oral health is important. We invite you to call us at Missouri River Dentistry, 223-2021, 223-2021.
Wagner Auto and Pierre has been hitting home runs for over 100 years, delivering quality vehicles and top-notch service to our community. Whether you need a rugged truck, a dependable SUV, or a fuel-efficient car, we've got the perfect lineup to keep you on the road. Proud sponsor of this season's baseball action, we're here to help you drive home a great deal. Stop by today or visit WagnerAuto.com. Wagner Auto, South Dakota's oldest auto dealer.
Welcome back to Post 8 Baseball on KCCR and on YouTube at KCCR Sports. We're in the bottom half of the 5th inning as Pierre Post 8 takes on Rapid City Post 320. And Pierre trying to find their way to win number 16 on the year, win number 12, not including exhibition games, rather not exhibition, but rather forfeited games against Sturgis. Count is going to be 1-0 here in the bottom of the 5th inning, as it's Charlie Simpson at the plate. 3-4-5 due up in the order. This is a foul ball that will land in the concourse right in front of the fans. Counts 1-1. 10 total hits in this game. 6 for Rapid City, 4 for Pierre. But despite that, it's only a 1-run game, and these two teams continue to remain pretty evenly matched. Although it feels like Post 320 has been in control for the longest time. Swing and a miss. Counts 1-2 for Simpson. Still on the mound is Layden Fatz, who's been able to just consistently drill in fastballs. Post 8's had some success, but also had some failures from the plate. This is softly hit and fouled. Count remains 1-2. By the way, the Russ Snyder Memorial Scholarship for 2025 is being handed out today, and Dawson Getz is the recipient of that. $1,750 going to be awarded to him. And that's a hit by pitch, by the way, on Charlie Simpson. That will send him on to first base, so he's able to catch a break on that 1-2 count. That's the 3rd straight time he's reached base. He's also reached on 2 walks. Now a hit by pitch, so he hasn't even really had a chance to deliver a hit yet against Layton Fats. But as I was saying, Dawson gets Russ Snyder Memorial Scholarship recipient. Of course, a lot of you know the story of Russ Snyder. All-around athlete and peer, football, basketball, track star, standout baseball player as well. Baseball, of course, his favorite sport, 4-year starter, named all-conference in his junior and senior seasons. And Dawson gets able to honor that memory here today. Here's a fly ball deep to right center field. This one is going to land right in the gap. This could tie the game. Coming around, stopping at third is Simpson. I don't know how in the world that Aiden Bird and Jet Peterson dug that thing out from deep right center field, but they found a way. However, Post 8 now with 2 runners on base, both of them in scoring position. It's a long double for Cooper Terwilliger. What a shot into deep right center field as Ridge Limbach makes his way to the plate. Post 8 still with no outs and in position now to not just tie this thing, but take the lead. And you wonder maybe if this is becoming tougher for Layton Fats as time goes on. Counts 1-0. Is he beginning to have more and more issues containing this Post 8 attack? Here's a ground ball that is picked up by the second baseman, throws on to first for out number 1. But a run does score for Post 8. Simpson comes home, and we're all knotted up at 4 runs apiece. Moving on to third base is Terwilliger with 1 down. So Ridge Limbach with his second RBI of the game. It's going to be a 4-3 ground out, but it does its job, and most importantly, puts Post 8 in position to take the lead. So Sutton Sun and Shine to the plate, 4-4 game. Fastball by Fats is in for a strike. Count is 0-1. So Limbach, understanding the situation, just needed to put a ball in play and not have it roll on the left side, and you've basically got a run coming in, and that's exactly what happened. You have to give up your own out in that spot, but it ties the game, so that's what you're looking for. Counts 1-1. This ball popped up on the right side in foul territory. It is catchable, and the catch will indeed be made by Max Speed. Had to use his speed to locate that baseball for just a second and have good eyes as well. Was able to find it for out number 2, and that's a bit costly for Sutton Sun and Shine and Post 8, as it takes away the leverage they had in that 1-out spot. Grayson Hunsley comes to the plate. He does have an RBI in this game. Sac fly that came earlier on initially tied the game at 1-1 in the bottom half of the second. Counts 1-0 here. Cooper Terwilliger biding his time in the hot corner, representing the leading run for Pierre Post 8. Here's a chopper left side. Third baseman scoops it up, throws it over to first, and gets the out. A 5-3, nicely done by Tegan Sales. And we set sail for the top half of the 6th inning. Post 8 ties it up. Ridge Limbach with a massive RBI ground out, helped by Cooper Terwilliger's big double into right center field. Charlie Simpson comes home to score the tying run, 4-4 here at Hyde Stadium. Back in 1 minute on KCCR and on YouTube at KCCR Sports.
Have you ever wondered what the benefits are of becoming a Owyhee Federal Credit Union member? At Owyhee Federal Credit Union, we reinvest profits in you. We do this in the form of lower interest rates, higher dividends, and low to no fees. So come check us out or come in at 221 East Pleasant Drive in Pierre, because at Owyhee Federal Credit Union, we treat our members like they own the place because, well, they do.
Owyhee Federal Credit Union.
Most of us already know that Gales Gas of Pierre is the place to call for propane. They offer an automatic fill plan so you never have to worry about running out of propane. They accept debit and credit payments or a budget payment plan to spread out the cost throughout the year so you never have surprises when you get your bill. For delivery, convenience, and great customer service, call Gales Gas at 224-5518. That's Gales Gas at 224-5518.
Welcome back to Post 8 Baseball on KCCR and on YouTube at KCCR Sports. Jen Brazili is taking over for John Winkler on the board. Appreciate her coming in. This is game number 1 of what's been So far, a great doubleheader between Pierre Post 8 and Rapid City Post 320. And it looks like Post 8 is going to send a new pitcher onto the mound. So J.J. Buchholz will have his day come to a close a little bit early than what he usually would in this situation. He's been known to go just about the complete game, but Post 8, obviously, with River Iverson feeling as though a change is needed in this spot. So Buchholz's day will end with 4 runs given up, 2 earned runs, 4 walks, 3 strikeouts, and 5 innings pitched. This is Parker O'Brien, who is on the mound for Pierre Post 8. We'll get some numbers on him in just a second, but for now, it's a swing and a miss to start things off in the top of the 6th. Counts 0-1 for Max Schoenhard, who was able to get a big single to start things off in his last at-bat. He was the leadoff hitter in that inning as well, coming back in the 4th, and eventually led to a massive run scored in that frame to help Post 320 maintain their lead, but it has since become a tie ball game at 0-2. It's up to Parker O'Brien to maintain the fire that Post 8 has been showing, both with their bat and on the mound. O'Brien doesn't have a lot of pitching experience this year. Just 2 innings pitched. He's pitched in 1 total game. Has given up 3 hits, no earned runs, but 2 runs total, 2 strikeouts as well. Swing and a miss. Here's the throw to first to complete it, and that'll do it on Max Schoenhard. So good start for Parker O'Brien. He gets the strikeout swinging on Schoenhard. That is 1 down in the top of the 6th inning. Anders Lockhart will be the next man up. He grounded out his last time, got a single in his very first at-bat on Buchholz, but now he's got an entirely different flavor of pitcher on the mound. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see the fastball that Parker O'Brien is using to great effect right now, putting some extra zip on that baseball. Counts 1-0. Not spending too much time between pitches either. And the biggest thing with that fastball is you just got to make sure it goes where it needs to, because it's really hard to hit that at just the right time. It doesn't hang up there for too long, and you got to be really good with your hand-eye coordination at this point to even have a shot at it. Count goes to 3-0 though, and you wonder if that sense of control is going to be lost to some degree here for O'Brien, trying to do something against Anders Lockhart. And that's a strike, just was able to paint the corner. Good work by O'Brien to get that pitch to find its mark. And now we'll see if that begins to settle him in just a bit. Already with a strikeout, 4th total for Post 8 in this game. That's in the dirt, that's ball 4. So moving on to first base easily will be Anders Lockhart. He advances on the walk, decided to take off running, not sure why he felt the need to do that, but works out either way in that situation. Could have missed something on my end as well. So Jonah Blake will be the next man up. Struck out looking in his first at-bat, but he's since then been dominant. Both a triple and a single. One of those swings resulting in an RBI. The RBI triple coming in his 3rd at-bat. And he's got a chance to do something similar right here, but he'll have to do it against a new pitcher. Pitch comes in wide, counts 1-0. 11 total hits in this game. Very evenly matched. 6 for Post 320, 5 for Pierre. Rapid City was shut out in the top half of the 5th. That pitch wide again by O'Brien, counts 2-0. Again, you're asking O'Brien really to just not let this game balloon. Keep Post 8 tied up. But for a guy who's pitched just 2 innings all year, that's a lot to rely on. And that's ball 3. Count moves to 3-0, and now O'Brien is on the verge of issuing yet another walk, this time on Jonah Blake. And he's got to be careful with how he puts in this fastball. That is ball 4. So Jonah Blake makes his way on to first base. Runners on first and second for Rapid City Post 320, and River Iverson making his way out of the dugout. We'll see if this is just a conversation or if this is a more permanent change. But obviously, River Iverson does not want to jeopardize the chances of Post 8 winning this baseball game, especially in this late stage, top of the 6th inning. Trying to keep his team and his pitcher right on target to where they need to be. But this is not going to be easy down the stretch to do with a Post 320 team that's been pretty solid all game long. As far as this game goes, it's been about everything you could ask for when you consider that the first game did go extra innings between these two back on June 8th. It's been very similar here, tightly contested, evenly matched, and neither team able to just take control. It's been a very fun one. Pitch on the way. This is hit well into right field. Nice catch by Sutton Sonnenschein. That's going to be a big out, number 2. And most importantly, it keeps the runners in place. So Post 8 able to get a big second out. And again, runners still at first and second for Rapid City Post 320. But they now have really less impetus to try to steal base, especially with no more outs to work with if they get caught. Aiden Bird making his way to the plate, struck out swinging last time against Buckholz. Now we'll see how he handles O'Brien. Fastball is in for a strike, counts 0-1. Nicely done by Parker. Bird, a lefty batter, which is always tougher for a righty pitcher to handle. Buckholz able to navigate pretty well. O'Brien cannot quite get this one in the zone. Counts 1-1. Max Speed is currently on deck for Rapid City Post 320, on off his 4-hit performance last night. And that pitch is going to be high for ball number 2. Aiden Bird, of course, had 4 hits himself last night, 1 RBI in game number 2 versus Spearfish. Those two back-to-back combined for 8 hits. Count goes to 3-1. They've both been successful today, but not quite to the same degree. One total hit between the two thus far. They've reached base combined a total of 3 times. But make that 4, as that's going to be ball number 4 by Parker O'Brien, and the bases are now juiced.
First baseman, number 24, Max Speed.
So Max Speed will be the next man up. And that's how Rapid City wants to move things along in this top of the 6th at Max Speed. Want to get that lead and then keep Post 20 at bay in the bottom of the 6th. You add some insurance in the top of the 7th, and all of a sudden, you've got a good shot at victory. But you've still got 2 outs in the spot. So for Pierre Post 8, that's the most important thing, just getting out by any means necessary, whether it's a strikeout, fly out, ground out, doesn't matter. Just get that out. Strike here for Post 8. Max Speed has struck out looking, popped one up to center, and reached on an E5 in this game so far. This is going to hop off the plate. It's a wild pitch that's going to score a run for Rapid City Post 320, and they retake the lead. Coming home for Rapid City is Anders Lockhart, and it is a 5-4 baseball game. Runners advancing to second and third as well for Post 320, and the count 0-2. It was a strike. Speed did swing for it, but Simpson was unable to catch up to that thing, and another wild pitch scores a Rapid City run. That's now 3 times that's happened in this game. There's one thing that keeps Pierre from winning this game down the stretch. It could very well be that. Counts 1-2. If you take those away, Pierre's up by a score of 4-2 right now. So very unfortunate circumstances for Pierre pitching this afternoon. O'Brien high, check swing by Speed. They'll say that that is ball 2, and the count goes to 2-2. And now O'Brien's got to shake off that wild pitch he just delivered and make sure this does not get any worse than what it is. And he will do just that. Throw to first by Simpson in time for strike 3. That'll send us to the bottom half of the 6th inning. Parker O'Brien gets 2 strikeouts, but also gives up another run to Rapid City post 320. A wild pitch on a bases-loaded situation scores Anders Lockhart, and we're at a 5-4 post 320 lead as we move to the bottom of the 6th. Back in 1 minute right here on KCCR and on YouTube at KCCR Sports.
Dakota Sprinkler and Landscaping wants to make it easy for you to get that lush green lawn and that yard haven that you've been dreaming of. Visit dakotasprinkler.com to make appointments for sprinkler system spring startup, service calls, fall winterization, and landscaping quotes. Trust Dakota Sprinkler and Landscaping's professionals to get you through the planning and installation to make your landscaping needs a reality. Visit dakotasprinkler.com today.
Hey you. Are you at a job that is fulfilling, has good benefits to support you or a family today, and retirement goes down the road? If you just said no, listen up. CHS River Plains is hiring operations personnel, drivers, and custom applicators at several locations. These come with a knockout affordable benefit package for you and the whole family. Apply to a job with CHS River Plains and up your benefits straight up. To apply, visit us online at chsriverplains.com or stop in at one of our locations. CHS is an equal opportunity employer.
Welcome back. This is Post 8 Baseball on KCCR and on YouTube at KCCR Sports. Our scoreboard this afternoon, courtesy of the American Family Insurance Brittany Shufflebine Agency. Thank you, Brittany and American Family Insurance, for sponsoring our scoreboard each and every game. Trevor Rounds coming to the plate. He reached on an E4 his last time up. He will swing and miss, maybe fouled that one off just barely. Either way, count goes to 0-1. 8-9-1 due up in the order for Pierre post 8. And it looks like Layden Fatz is going to stay out there for now. We'll see how much more he will get. We saw Buchholz get subbed out just a second ago. Counts 0-2, that coming in the top of the 6th inning. Ended up working out just fine for Pierre post 8 relatively. Did give up a run, though. Here's a ground ball up the middle. Gobbled up by the shortstop. Tries to throw on his bottom to first, and he can't make it in time. So that's going to be a hit for Trevor Rounds. We'll call that a leadoff single here in the bottom half of the 6th inning. Noah Wall did what he could to just get that baseball to first base, but he was literally on his posterior and couldn't quite get that ball out the way he wanted to. And a runner on first here for Pierre post 8. Leadoff single for Trevor Rounds. Porter Hunsley will be the next man up. Hunsley showed bunt, pulled back. It's in for a strike. Count goes to 0-1. Layden Fatz so far with 5 innings pitched. He's at 68 pitches, so he's far from the pitch limit. That certainly likely plays into the strategy here. Keep him in if you can, but you also don't want to allow post 8 to tie this game up. Bunts laid down. This could be trouble. It went in between 2 post 320 players, and it got them tangled up, and now Pierre with 2 runners on base. The third baseman, Tegan Sales, and the pitcher, Layden Fatz, were both trying to locate the baseball. It bounced in an odd way in the infield grass right between them, and they kind of got tangled up between each other, as I just said, and it allows post 8 to get runners on first and second. So Porter Hunsley on to first, Rounds on to second, and we're back to the top of the order with Carter Shufflebine. That is going to be a single for Hunsley, hit number 7 for post 8. Tying run is in scoring position. Bunt laid down and fouled. Count is 0-1, as Shufflebine was immediately looking for the bunt. Just couldn't keep it in fair territory. We'll see if he wants to go back to that yet again. Post 8 has no outs in this situation, so they've got the ability to. But it's up to their discretion to choose. Pitch on the way from Fatz. It is going to be a bunt. It's laid down. Here's the throw to first, and it's going to be off the bag. Here comes the tying run for post 8. Round scores, making his way home as Hunsley. He'll score as well. The ball still in the corner, and coming all the way home and scoring is Carter Shufflebine. And Post State goes from 1 run down to a 2-run lead in one wild turn of events. The throw was way offline from max speed, or to max speed, I should say, and the ball went all the way towards that right field corner and near the Pierre Post State bullpen. And as a result, Post State able to capitalize and clear the bases on that throwing error. And it is a 7-5 baseball game with Pierre on top of Rapid City Post 320. What a wild sequence that was. And what a break for Pierre Post State. A costly error for Post 320. Count is quickly 2-0 as Dawson Getz is at the plate. So it's you almost, I guess, in a way can call it a little league inside the park home run, but it didn't really look like that. It was a very softly hit ball that usually would be pretty easily handled by the infield defense, but the throwing error completely made that impossible. Now a 3-1. And that's ball 4. Either that or a hit by pitch on Getz. He's making his way over to first. And Post State now with a runner aboard once again. And this is likely going to be the end of Layden Fatt's day. Head coach Mike Jansen kept him out there as long as he could. And I believe he may have paid the price for it. Not really Fatts' fault in that situation. And he will have his day come to a close. So that'll do it for him. Circumstances outside of what he was doing probably contributed to this, but he ends his day with 5 innings pitched, 2 earned runs given up of the 7 that they've allowed to Post State, which is kind of tells the story. They've given up 7 runs, but only 2 of those were earned, and that's been the real issue for Post 320 late in this game. 3 walks, 1 strikeout for Fatts, and now a new pitcher is on the mound for Rapid City Post 320, and it's Colton Melhoff. So we will get our first look at Melhoff as a pitcher in this game. He was working as the second baseman, so that will likely mean that we'll get some defensive shifts for Post 320 here. As of now, everybody else is in the same position. We'll see if that sends Layden Fatts possibly to second. I believe he walked off the field, though, so I would doubt that would be the case. Post State, they were starving as the song plays over the loudspeakers. They were starving to get the lead here in the bottom half of the 6th inning, and they were able to do it. Again, a wild throw from Tegan Sales sailed way over the head of max speed, and Carter Shufflebine was able to turn that into 3 runs scored. So it just took one mistake from Rapid City Post 320 to completely turn this game upside down. Looks like there is going to be a new second baseman. It is Kason Kostenbauer. So Kostenbauer will be the second baseman, making his first appearance of the game. And now we'll get our first look at Colton Melhoff as a pitcher in this game. Melhoff, we talked about him earlier on in this contest. No stranger to Post State, had 2 innings pitched against them in the other game these two played this season. Gave up 1 earned run in that time. So now you've got Charlie Simpson at the plate after Dawson Getz forced the walk. This is an off-speed pitch that goes in high, counts 1-0. And now Pierre Post State, who was on the verge of needing a bottom of the 7th, now they will possibly not even need that. Already had the lead. If you can force 3 more outs on Rapid City Post 320, you get the win. Of course, a little insurance wouldn't hurt us. That ball went over the head of the third base coach for Pierre. Count goes to 1-1, and he was trying to catch that baseball. I think that was River Iverson out there, and almost brought that thing in. barehanded. That'd have been a heck of a spectacle. Instead, the count is at 1-1. Simpson did reach on a hit by pitch his last time up. Gets us going. This ball fouled, and it lands on the roof of the Pierre dugout. Counts 1-2. So far, a solid enough start for Cotton Melhoff, but he's still got to deal with the rest of this plate appearance for Simpson, and he's got to get 3 more outs. This pitch is off speed and high. Count goes to 2-2. Post 320 immensely struggled in the month of July. They've picked it up a little bit in June, or rather, struggled in June, did well in July, as that's fouled by Simpson. I've started off July well anyway. 3-3 overall, with some impressive wins against Spearfish. Lost 2 games to Brandon Valley, who Pierre will play on the road in a couple weeks. This ball is going to be fouled, heading towards the bridge and towards the road over there nearby the stadium, keeping the count at 2-2. Charlie Simpson entered today's game with the best batting average on the team. Only player for Pierre Post 8 batting over 400. Lets this pitch go by, and the count will be 3-2. So full count on the way for Simpson, and this is just extending this inning and allowing Pierre Post 8 to possibly wear down the new pitcher as well. And that looks like it's a hit by pitch, and that'll send Simpson on to first. So this continues to become a problem for Rapid City Post 320, as Post 8 now with runners on first and second. And Cotton Melhoff having trouble really finding the zone against Simpson after a good start. It's either a walk or a hit by pitch. Looks like the consensus is that it's a walk. We were waiting on that to get confirmation. Terwilliger got a double his last time up. He's at the plate. Helped Post 8 to tie the game at 4. There's a strike. Count goes to 0-1. The thing is, even with the 2-run lead, with how Post 320 has been able to score, I'm sure Pierre does not want to take any chances in this spot. So try to cash in and get a couple more runs if you can. Here is a ground ball. Chance to turn a double play here, and they're going to say safe at first base will be Cooper Terwilliger. So Post 8 will have runners in the corners here, runners at first and third. Out at second base is Charlie Simpson. Terwilliger reaches on a fielder's choice. Ridge Leimbach will be the next man up. 1 out here in the bottom half of the 6th inning. Leimbach has 2 RBIs in this game, both of them coming on, or rather one coming on a single, one coming on a ground out. Lets this pitch go by. Count goes to 1-0. Has somewhat found his fire after some sluggish games by his standards in recent games, but he's still the team RBI leader. Now with a total of 18 on this season, surpassing Sutton Sunshine, who entered today's game with 17. Runner goes. Here's a throw to second, and the throw is well off target, so taking second base easily will be Terwilliger. So 2 runners in scoring position. Count is 1-1 on Leimbach. Pierre Post 8 can easily extend the lead to 3 or 4 runs with a good swing from Leimbach, but there's a strike. Counts 1-2. Perhaps now Cotton Melhoff beginning to find his form and his footing a little bit from the mound as this bottom of the 6th continues. Time called by Melhoff. Just for a moment. Wanted to set himself right on the mound, it appears. The 1-2 pitch. Here's a ground ball, chance to turn a double play. Throw to first in time, throw to second is not in time. Just able to get back was Terwilliger. But Leimbach is out at first base. So that will be out number 2 in the bottom of the 6th, and keep runners at second and third for post 8. Sutton Sonnenschein will be the next man up after Leimbach was retired, and Sonnenschein, he'd love to maybe take that RBI title from Leimbach right back with a solid double or single right here. This could be his chance. High chopper into left field. One run's going to score to extend the lead. The other run coming home. It is going to be in time as the ball was bobbled by the catcher, Jonah Blake, and Sonnenschein will get those 2 RBIs and get all the way to second base to give post 8 a 9-5 lead. So he now retakes the RBI lead from Ridge Leimbach. Those are RBIs number 18 and 19 of the season, and post 8 is on top by a score of 9-5 as Grayson Hunsley will make his way to the plate. We'll call that a 2 RBI single from Sutton Sonnenschein, advancing to second on the throw. And now Grayson Hunsley to the plate. He will foul this one off. Count goes to 0-1. As Sonnenschein ended up making his way all the way to third. Guess he just thought he would take a jog in that spot. Why not? And now post 8 with a 4-run lead, making it even more of a certainty that it looks like they'll take game 1, which will be massive in their hopes of moving up in the standings. Here's a ground ball to short, thrown on to first in time by Noah Wald for a 6-3. But that'll do it for a big bottom of the 6th for post 8. They put 5 runs on the scoreboard, and they have a 9-5 lead, 3 outs away from closing out win number 16 on the season. Back in 1 minute right here on KCCR and on YouTube at KCCR Sports with more post 8 action.
Larry Fry Heating and Cooling has a new name. Kruger Climate Systems has acquired Larry Fry Heating and Cooling, but it's still the same great service. Your friend Larry Fry is still a manager, and his dedication to providing you with outstanding service remains unwavering. The same quality products and services you have come to expect from Larry Fry Heating and Cooling will continue under the new leadership of Kruger Climate Systems. You can still reach us at 605-224-9548 or email us at ryan@krugercontracting.com. Kruger Climate Systems, your certified Trane and Mitsubishi dealer in Central South Dakota.
Step up to the plate with Kathy Sonnenschein Properties in Pierre, your go-to for buying, selling, and finding your perfect home. Whether you're looking for a cozy cottage or a spacious family home, Kathy Sonnenschein Properties has you covered. We're committed to helping you make your next big move, on the field or in your life. Ready to find your dream home? Call Kathy Sonnenschein Properties at 605-224-5588. Your home run in real estate.
Welcome back. This is Post 8 Baseball on KCCR and on YouTube at KCCR Sports. Dylan Simmons on the call. This is the top of the 7th between Pierre Post 8 and Rapid City Post 320. Post 8 on top by a score of 9-5 in game number 1, trying to close out win number 16 on the season and get another home win, which would be their 3rd of the year. This is just their 3rd home doubleheader of the season. Played last week against Sioux Falls West here at Hyde Stadium and back against Post 320 today. They will have another home doubleheader coming up later on in the week, and that will be coming up on Friday. John Winkler will be on the call for that. This Post 8 looks to keep the good times rolling. They're hoping they're going to end today with 2 doubleheader victories. Count goes to 0-1. Cotton Melhoff will foul this one off. And Post 8 takes on Watertown on Friday, one of the top pitching teams in the state. That will certainly be a fun couple of contests. That pitch ends up going wide. Count is 1-1. Still on the mound for Pierre Post 8 is Parker O'Brien. 1 inning so far, no earned runs given up. Did give up 1 run in his first inning of work in the 6th. Count goes to 2-1. That coming on a wild pitch. Ended up getting out of a pretty good jam after the fact to allow Post 8 to even capture this lead. Here's a Line shot into left field for a base hit. Leadoff single for Cotton Melhoff to get things rolling in the top half of the 7th inning. And a man aboard for Rapid City Post 320. That'll send on Jet Peterson, and he and the Stars will need to turn on the Jets here late in this game to have any shot. But they're off to a good start. Now it's about stringing together consistent hitting, and Peterson could be the spark plug to help that. And the ball got away from the catcher, Charlie Simpson, so advancing to second on what I'd say it's either a wild pitch or a passed ball is Cotton Melhoff, making his way over to second. So runner in scoring position for Rapid City Post 320. You saw Peterson on the YouTube stream waving his hand, trying to tell Melhoff to move to second, and eventually he did. That's in for a strike. Count goes to 1-1. Nice fastball by Parker O'Brien, who is settling in this top of the 7th inning. Another fastball is in low. Counts 2-1. Getting some encouragement from the fans as Parker O'Brien trying to urge him on to get Post 8 yet another victory, their 3rd home win of the season, and start off this doubleheader the right way. That's what O'Brien's looking to do. Here is a liner into left center field for yet another base hit. This could possibly score Melhoff. Here he comes. He'll make it easily in time. The ball didn't even get out of the outfield, and it's an RBI single for Jet Peterson and a 9-6 baseball game. So hold the phone. We're not done yet. Rapid City Post 320 is back in it. Noah Wald, the next man up, still no outs, and much like what we saw last week with Sioux Falls West in game number 1, ended up making that a 10-6 game. You wonder if now Rapid City Post 320 will have their own late sprint against a relatively new pitcher. Wald has not been able to get a whole lot of success thus far. In fact, he's been the last batter in an inning 3 times in this game, which means he's been retired 3 separate times. 1-0 count. This ball popped up. It is in fair territory in the infield. Hunsley wants it, and he dropped the baseball. He's going to throw on to second, and he does get the out at second base. But that was almost a disaster. Great awareness and great heads-up play by Hunsley to get the ball over to second base. And actually, I wonder if that was intentional. I can't say for sure. But if it was, that was a brilliant play to take out Jet Peterson. It almost looked too good to not be intentional, but I'm not going to say for sure whether or not it was. Either way, it worked out well for Hunsley. He dropped the baseball, but just flung it over to the second baseman, Shufflebind, to get the out. And that takes away the leadoff runner in that situation, Jet Peterson. Noah Ward advancing to first on a fielder's choice. Max Schoenhardt is the man at the plate. Or Schoenhardt, I should say. Struck out swinging his last time up. Count is 1-1 against O'Brien here. That pitch is high, counts 2-1. O'Brien did a pretty good job against his first lefty batter in this game, Aiden Bird. At least at the start, ended up walking him, but was able to get some strikes, even against the lefty. Would hope to get that once again right here. Maybe force a ground out into a double play. There's a strike. Counts 2-2. Good stuff there from Parker O'Brien. If he gets a strikeout here, Post 8 will be just 1 out away from victory. 2-2. Breaking balls in high for ball 3. And we've got another payoff pitch coming up. 3-2 against Max Schoenhardt. Left fielder has a single, has been struck out and flown out in this game. 1 for 3 thus far, and the at-bat extends a little bit longer as he flings that one into the road, and I hope that didn't hit that, what looks like a Cadillac driving down the road. It's still going, so I'm going to assume that nothing too concerning happened there, but is headed right for it. 3-2, swing and a miss, and that will be a massive strikeout for Parker O'Brien, his third of the game, and he gets it on Max Schoenhard. Got him swinging for the second straight time, his first time as the pitcher. And that is out number 2 here in the top half of the 7th inning. And that will mean that Anders Lockhart is the last hope for Rapid City Post 320 to keep their hopes alive in this game. Fastball is delivered.
He came in for defense when they switched pitchers.
Kason Kostenbauer actually is the man at the plate. Remember, he came in for Post 320 earlier on, so he ends up taking his spot at the plate. My apologies on that one. Lost track of that. Count goes to 1-1. Kostenbauer facing this 1-1. Softly hit ball right back towards the mound, and everyone's safe. As the pitcher, Parker O'Brien, kind of misplayed the baseball a little bit. It was hit very softly, and O'Brien, I think, just kind of misjudged that. It's going to be awarded as a single, and runners on first and second for Rapid City Post 320. So Kostenbauer delivers. And now what would be the tying run is at the plate with Jonah Blake. Remember, he does have the biggest hit of this game, an RBI triple. Not trying to speak it into existence, but if he did hit one over the fence, it would tie this thing up. Post State hoping that's not going to happen. Parker O'Brien going to see to it that he does his best to keep Blake at bay. Count goes to 1-0. Highly competitive, very fun first game. Just the first half of today's doubleheader action. There's the strike, counts 1-1. Stay tuned after the conclusion of this game, folks. We will have your KCCR Sports post-game show recapping everything that took place from game number 1. This is the 5th time through the order for Post 320. This ball's launched sky high. It's going to stay in the yard. Chasing after it and making the catch is Sutton Sunshine to end the game and give Post 8 a 9-6 win over the Stars of Rapid City Post 320. Win number 16 on the season has been secured, the 3rd win at home, and Post 8 is not going to walk away empty-handed in game number 1, a 9-6 victory led by a dominant bottom half of the 6th. 5 runs scored for Post 8 in that inning alone, allowing them to cruise in the top of the 7th and move on to yet another victory this season at Hyde Stadium. We'll take a 1-minute timeout, or rather a 2-minute timeout, and be back with your KCCR Sports post-game show, recapping everything from game number 1. This is KCCR Pierre, a Riverfront broadcasting station. Back in 2.
AGE Corporation has been building South Dakota for over 60 years. For all your site work, construction, and crane needs, AGE is there for you. If you need a boat dock and dock lighting, AGE has what you need. Visit their website, agecorp.com, or give them a call at 223-2732. AGE Corporation, providing high-quality services without sacrificing safety. Visit agecorp.com or call 223-2732.
As community bankers, BankWest employees are deeply committed to supporting local causes, growing the local economy, and creating local opportunities. At a time when you can bank anywhere, we hope you choose BankWest. We'll be your financial partner for the long haul, helping you and your community achieve financial success. BankWest. Convenient, connected, committed. Member FDIC.
Are you a farmer in the Highmore area? Do you need a trusted partner for your grain and agronomy needs? Look no further than AgTegra. AgTegra is built on a legacy of farmer-owned cooperatives, providing superior service and relentless innovation for generations. We're committed to your success and the safety of our employees and members. For your grain needs, call Chance Scott at 605-846-1099. And for all your agronomy needs, reach out to Cole Hamlin at 605-871-9572. AgTegra, growing together for generations.
Hello, I'm Pastor Jeff Lathrop of Pierre First United Methodist Church, and I'd like to invite you to join us in person for worship on Sunday mornings at 8:30 a.m. or 11 a.m. You can also join us on Facebook Live or on KCCR 1240 a.m. or 98.9 FM for our Sunday morning broadcast at 11 a.m. Come worship with us at First United Methodist Church, where you will find open hearts, open minds, and open doors.
Welcome back to Post 8 Baseball on KCCR. Your final score 9-6 in game number 1 between Pierre and Rapid City post 320. Let's tell you how they did it with some post-game stats. As far as pitching goes, it was the J.J. Buchholz show for most of the way. A bit of an uncharacteristic performance for him, but still overall solid. 5 innings pitched, 2 earned runs given up, 4 walks, 3 strikeouts. Parker O'Brien will be credited with the win. 2 innings pitched, 1 earned run given up, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts for him in his 2 innings of action. As far as the bats go for post 8, really wasn't a player who just absolutely took over, but there were a couple of players who had 2 RBIs. Sutton Sonnenschein would likely be the player of the game, at least for right now. 2 RBIs, 2 hits. Ridge Leinbach with 1 hit and 2 RBIs as well. Carter Schuffelbein with 2 hits, 1 RBI for post 8 in this game. Meanwhile, for the post 320 Stars, Leighton Fatts was the man on the mound. 5 innings pitched, 8 runs given up, but just 3 of those earned, 1 strikeout. Cotton Melhoff ended up with 1 inning pitched and 1 earned run given up. Not bad from him. Offensively, it was Cotton Melhoff who not only did it with the arm, but also with the bat. 2 hits, 1 RBI, and 1 walk in this game, and a 2-hit performance as well for Jonah Blake, along with 1 RBI, including one of those being an RBI triple, but not enough in the end after a 5-inning bottom of the 6th to combat post 8, who would end up winning the game 9-6 over the post 320 Stars. Post 8 now 16-10 on the season. Yet another win in South Dakota play, and winning game number 1 against post 320 in today's doubleheader, and also their second total win against Rapid City post 320 this season. We're not done, though, on KCCR. We will have game number 2 on the way soon enough. You can catch that game in about 25 to 30 minutes. For now, we're going to send it to a 5-minute timeout, and then we'll have KCCR News, another 5-minute timeout after that, and then it'll be time for game number 2 between the Stars and the Eights. So make sure to tune in for that. Post 8 wins 9-6 here in game number 1. We'll be back in some time, so don't